Well, greetings and salutations, good people of the internet. My name is Big Lou, and welcome to my workshop channel. A couple of years ago, I made these display shelves here for my reaction studio. If you like reaction type videos of nerdy content, I'll leave a link to it down in the description below. It's Big Lou's Clubhouse. But that's not why you're here. You are here to see how I built these shelves. So, like I said, I built them a couple of years ago, and if you want to know why it's been so long for me posting this video, you can check out the video that I posted last week about what's been going on with me over the past couple of years, and I'll leave a link to that below as well. All that being said, if you're interested in buying the plans for these shelves, if this is something you want to build yourself, I'll have a link down below where you can get to my website and buy the plans. All that being said, let's now hop in Doc Brown's DeLorean, go back in time a couple of years to find our dutiful woodworker in his shop already working on these wonderful shelves. So, let's get it. Okay, so as with most of my projects, I'm going to be making this out of plywood. In this case, I've got some 5/8 cabinet grade plywood that I think is going to take paint really well and just be exactly what I need. Because ½ inch would be too flimsy for, not flimsy, but it just wouldn't look right. And then 3/4 inch is just way too much for these shelves that I'm going to be building. So I did want to go ahead and point out that as with a lot of plywood, it's supposed to be flat. However, you can see here that this bows out. This one piece, I got 3 pieces. I only need 2 for this build, but I went ahead and got a third just because it's nice to have a good another piece of plywood around. Anyway, on the cut list, you can see here I have it printed out, and I have one piece that has a lot more larger pieces that are going to be the corner shelves. And this piece has a lot of the smaller stuff. I don't know if this is the right way to do it, but it's worked for me in the past. Right way, however you want to call it. The piece of plywood that is bowed, I always reserve for the parts that are smaller. That way you don't have nearly as much of a bow over a longer stretch, and it won't warp. I just think it works out better. But this is going to have so many screws and so many glue joints in it that it's not going to be an issue anyway. We're going to be able to get it back together. But just a good tip. So let's get back to cutting this stuff to rough, and then we can go onto the table saw. Let's go. Interrupt this montage to bring you an important public service announcement. Make sure that whenever you are cutting and measuring, that you measure twice, cut once. Otherwise, you end up having to glue a tiny little strip of wood onto your panel because you cut it too short. We now return you to your previously scheduled montage mode. Thank you. So now that I've got all the parts cut to their exact length, I'm going to go ahead and cut the pocket holes, because I'm going to use pocket holes for the shelves because I think that's the easiest way to do it. And I'm going to sand them all, and then we can talk about the edge banding, because I'm going to be painting this, and the edge banding I think is just going to work out the best. Plus, I've never done it, and it'll give me a reason to try something new, which is always really, really cool. So I'm going to get all the stuff together, and we're going to cut pocket holes first and then sand it, because I think any sanding done with the pocket holes already cut will be better. Yeah, so let's go. Okay, so the edge banding is all done, and they're all sanded and ready to go. If you want to see some more footage or more in-depth explanation as to how edge banding is done, there are a ton of other YouTube videos out there. For me, my first experience or time doing edge banding was... This was a hill that I should have climbed a long time ago. It was not nearly as daunting as I had it made out in my head to be. So anyway, we'll just see how it holds up over time. But for what these are going to be, it's going to be just fine. Anyway, this is one of those times where I'm glad that my table saw has a mobility unit on it so that I can just move it out of the way and make full use of my assembly table on both sides, because the shelving unit is, you know, it's not huge, but it's big enough that coming at it from both sides is going to really, really be beneficial. Anyway, so that's all I've got to say right now. Let's go ahead and get to work. I'm going to just hit it with some brad nails and some glue and then reinforce it with some screws. So let's do it. so when I was designing this thing, I made the forethought, or I had the forethought rather, to make the top and bottom pieces a little bit longer than they needed to be. And as you can see here, they're just that little bit extra length, and that's exactly how I intended it, so that now I can come back with a flush trim router bit and trim it to exact size. Because if you try to cut it to the exact size with all of those shelves, even if it's just a little bit off, by the time you get to the end, you might not have enough material left. So better to err on the side of being over and have to trim it back than being short and going, oh, what do I do now? But now that that's done, we can go ahead and put the shelves in. I'm going to use the same technique by using the shelves as spacers, because they're already the right size. So let's get to it. So now that they're all put together, and by the way, they turned out exactly how I had them pictured in my head, which is remarkable considering how out of practice at this I am. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start prepping for paint, and I may have said that, but I didn't actually talk about what that entailed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some wood filler. I've got DAP's premium wood filler that I'm going to fill in to the screw holes and stuff, just make it nice and smooth. I'm also going to touch off any place where the edge banding looks a little bit, wonky. There's a couple of places that I split together, and a couple of places where when I was sanding and cutting, the veneer has come off of this plywood, because it was really thin veneer on this plywood. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do, and we can go ahead and get started on that, and then we can talk about how we're going to actually paint it. So let's get to it. Okay, so I've got a really good base coat of primer on there. I used a water-based primer, and I sprayed it on with my Flexio 5000 from Wagner. And if you want to see more about that sprayer, I've got a whole video up on the channel just about that sprayer specifically, so you can check that out. Anyway, once it's fully cured, I'm going to hit it with some high-grit sandpaper, probably 320, maybe 400, depending on how it works, and just sand off all the nibs and the raised grain and stuff like that, so that it's ready for a good solid coat of the actual paint, which is going to be a black semi-gloss enamel paint, and I will link to all the paints and sprayers and stuff that I'm using in the description down below. While this is curing, I'm going to go ahead and go inside and start prepping the area where we're going to mount these shelves. So, no waste of time, let's get on it. So, apologies if there's any echo. I didn't feel like going out to the garage to get my lav mic. Anyway, so I didn't record a whole lot of this because I was still trying to brainstorm it in my head about how exactly I wanted to do it. But now that I've got it all finagled and situated, I can kind of walk you through what I did. Because the shelves that are going to be in the corner don't have anywhere to put a French cleat on it without altering it completely, I used some of the offcuts from what I was going to have as the French cleat on there, just to kind of set up, and I'll use some just angle brackets mounted to it, and I offset it a little bit so that you can see it's perfectly level with where the shelf is going to sit on the cubby unit to be in line with where it is on the wall. And if that's a little confusing, trust me, it took me a little bit to wrap my head around exactly how I was going to do it. And if you could think of a better way to do this, by all means, drop down in the comments and let me know, because this is kind of the best that I came up with, was still having to be able to have the LED lights below the surface of the shelf. And when I get it all set up and you see exactly what I'm talking about, I think it'll make a lot more sense. So when you can visualize what I see in my head, and I apologize for that, then I think we'll all be on the same page. But anyway, the French cleats are up there. I got the number 9 3-inch screws into the studs. I got 3 on each of the French cleats. So we can go ahead and mount these shelves up on the wall and finally see what this damn thing looks like, because I'm excited to get rolling and see what it looks like. Well, there we are. We are back to where we started. We have come full circle. What a journey it was. Some great content. I loved building these shelves. They turned out exactly how I wanted them to. They've kind of evolved over the years since I built them. I've got some beauty shots of them going up right now that I just shot today, so you can see what they are in their current state. The LED lights turned out wonderful. The original opening that I had for this video just was long and complex and just tried to be funny, but it wasn't funny, and I just figured let's just get to the heart of building these shelves, because it's been long enough that we haven't had this a good build video on the channel. So really love your support. If you're still watching here at the end of this video, go ahead and drop a comment saying that you watched till the end. Greatly appreciate it. And as always, stay inspired, stay motivated, and stay safe. We'll see you next time.